Kathy wanted me to particularly talk about the Commission of Inquiry.
Yeah.
So I know that some of the mothers have already engaged with it in some ways. Well, okay. Well, there's two different setups there, and I know that they're very confusing. It was confusing to me too, and I didn't really understand it until I'd read it about a few times. There's the Commission of Inquiry, and then there's the Confidential Committee. What the Commission of Inquiry is doing is they are sort of acting more as a typical Commission of Inquiry, that what you would think of a tribunal sort of thing, where you go there and you're giving your testimony, and they're asking you questions, they're recording everything you say. It's supposed to be an inquisitorial process and not an adversarial process. I understand that for some of the women who've gone to it, it has felt a little bit more adversarial. So I would certainly say if you haven't gone to it and you are planning, bring somebody with you, because that seems to reduce the amount that, you know, it seems to keep them on their toes a little bit more, you know, when they're conscious that there's another person there. And I also think that it can just be a lot more comfortable to you, because you'll be sitting on one side of the table with, you know, a whole row of them on the other side, and it can be very, very intimidating. They do, at least, they put forward an expression of sympathy. I don't know how genuine it is. You know, obviously I can't say that they're trying to make anybody uncomfortable, but I do know that a lot of women have come away feeling very uncomfortable. So I would highly recommend, if you go, don't go alone. You have the right to have somebody with you, and you know, you can choose who that person is. It doesn't have to be a solicitor. It doesn't have to be a partner. You can have somebody with you, and if they try to tell you to come in alone, you know, stick up for yourself and say, no, they're coming in with me. Okay. Now in the Confidential Committee, this is a little bit different, because you will only be yourself and one other person interviewing you, and then one person taking notes. So it's smaller. Another key difference is that the commission will be recording your story for investigation. If you name anybody or any institution, they can go to that person, to that institution, and ask for their side of the story. They can challenge you on things that you've said, and it's possible that you could be called back and cross-examined on what you have said. They can't publicize your name. You know, it's still, even though this one is not called the Confidential Committee, it is still confidential what you say there. So, you know, it's not going to appear in any reports as, you know, so this so-and-so person told us this. But the things that you say in there, if you do name another person, they can go to that person and give them the right to defend themselves, and then ask you to come back so that you can defend what you said. The Confidential Committee, what you say there is supposed to be completely confidential. They can't challenge you on things that you say. Allegedly, they can't challenge you on things that they say. They can't go to anybody who you've spoken about and ask for them, because they're not supposed to be recording that story as such. They're not supposed to be investigating the things that you say as such. But what they are going to do is produce a report in general that doesn't identify particular institutions or particular individuals, but just sort of, you know, builds this a large story, a large-scale picture.
Social history.
A social history, yeah. And the social history aspect of it is now, you've probably heard, they've said that they needed a little bit more time to work on this. I think there was some expectation that they were going to be getting a lot of stuff just from what has already been published. And I think they've discovered that, you know, there's so much more there to be discovered, that if they were just relying on what was published, that they wouldn't uncover half of it. So, I mean, to me that sounds mostly positive, you know, that at least they're realizing that there's a bigger story out there that they have to get to. Don't know how much else I can say about the difference between the two things. Was there another?
No, but if you don't remind me, I found that the Confidential Committee for me, although the formal aspect, you know, the commissioner's hearing, the Confidential Committee was like training ground for what I said. And,
all right.
You know, the more formal aspect of it
Did you do the confidential committee first and then the
Yeah,
commission?
and I didn't
Okay.
actually do the formal. They didn't call me to the formal part of the inquiry on my own behalf. They actually called me on behalf of
Right.
the group, but because I said I wasn't speaking for individuals in the group, I was there just to inform them as far as I was concerned about the existence of our group. And I said that they would call each or anybody who applied, would be
Right.
given their own. It ended up just talking more about myself rather than anybody or about
Yeah,
the group.
yeah, yeah.
So but I found it, having met with the confidential committee, empowering to go forward with the other one.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Because I mean, you can do one or the other. You don't have to do
both.
both.
Yeah.